everybody. This is Brian.
Jason.
And this is the so perfectly screwed.
Get screwed up.
It's the Perfectly Screwed podcast. Yeah. I got a little Sinatra vibe going. I have a little rum in me right now. Look, the glass is almost empty. See, we had to record this twice. I want you to know. Yeah, we were like 22 minutes into this episode, guys. And if it fucks up again, you're not getting one this week. That's all I'm fucking saying. You won't know it because it fucked up.
He just wasn't ready.
Look.
I told you last week you need to delete some of that shit.
You did.
Can't even deny it.
God damn it.
You weren't drinking last week, so you remember.
Well, I remember now, and I've been drinking through this whole episode.
It's just why it's hard to start over is because where you cut me off was Albert Fish had shit smeared on his fucking face and lips and was getting hard from it.
Okay, we're just going to jump right into it then.
Yes.
Yes, might as well.
How can we not jump right into that? I mean,
Yeah.
you can give the backstory again.
Yeah, I might as well
up to
start.
that.
Yeah. So,
But Albert Fish is who we're talking about.
yeah, Albert Fish is who we're talking about. Albert Fish was a serial killer. Born... I just went through this. I swear to God, guys, you don't know because this is the second recording, but just for the last 20 minutes, we've been sitting here.
But please stay tuned. Stay tuned because where Brian's leading up to, I promise you, this guy has shit on his face.
I'm getting there. So, Albert Fish was a American serial killer, and he was born in May 19th of 1870. And he was born Hamilton Howard Albert Fish. Now, we'll start with that. And the reason why he called himself Albert, pardon me, was later on in life he went to an orphanage. And at the orphanage, they made fun of him and called him Ham and Eggs, because the Hamilton, Ham, Bert, Eggs.
Well, later on in life, you're talking, I mean, he went there when he was...
Well, when he was 5.
5, yeah.
Yeah. So... he was an American serial killer, rapist, and child molester, and a cannibal. Shit. Hold on. So, he was only convicted of 3 murders. But, later on, after they convicted him, after he went to prison, they found at least 5 more. Okay? Mm-hmm. So... that's 8, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 8 that they knew of. And then Albert admitted to hundreds. He said he killed hundreds of kids throughout his career.
Right.
Now, the funny thing is, he didn't start eating them, and I didn't mention this the last time we were talking about
it's
it.
It's funny that it's called a career.
Yeah. Well, you know.
Not the career path. Parents, you want to send, your children down. I mean, everybody's unique.
If you're good at something,
right?
Do it.
You got to do what you love.
Right.
I'm just saying.
He loved it, clearly.
Wow.
But he didn't become a cannibal till much later on in life. And actually, interestingly, like the murders they actually caught him with was much later on in life. Although he admitted later on to committing murders his whole life.
I was going to say, if you're in the hundreds, man.
Yeah, well, the wild shit, see, you were talking about him smearing shit on his face and shit, and that's just the tip. Just the tip.
Of the iceberg.
Of what this crazy fucker did.
Yeah, because basically in the orphanage, he was mistreated badly.
Yes, but we're going to get to that. But he was also known as the Gray Man, the Werewolf of Wisteria, the Brooklyn Vampire, the Moon Maniac, and... the boogeyman by children.
I'm a tad jealous. I wish I was the Werewolf of Wisteria.
That is a cool name.
It is, man.
Yeah. Even though it's a sick fucker.
If I had any musical talent at all and were to get a band together, we might be the Werewolves of Wisteria.
The Werewolves of Wisteria.
Yeah.
The Brooklyn Vampires. And it's weird because when you look at pictures of this guy, he's got like kind of a fuzzy mustache, like a handlebar mustache, no beard. He's very clean shaven on top, but he always wears a bowler hat.
Well, he looks very early 1900s. But dude, his fucking eyes, you could tell the motherfucker's crazy.
Oh yeah, he's cold-eyed and dead like crazy.
Yes.
So, now Fish was born in Washington D.C. on May 19th, 1870, to Randall and Elaine Fish, and we talked about this. Fish's father was 75 years old when he was born. He was 43 years older than his mother. So his mother was actually, I lied the last time, and I'm glad I didn't record, she was in her 30s.
Early 30s.
Yeah, early 30s, and she's fucking a 75-year-old man. Like you said, balls just bouncing.
Long balls fucking hanging, fucking just
man titties.
Fucking clit from behind.
Man titties. He was getting it, buddy.
Bro.
I bet you, you know, I got to give it to Albert Fish's dad, though. Because at 75, if I can still get hard and bang 30-year-olds, he had to be doing something right. That's all I got to say.
Absolutely. Yeah,
he had to be doing it right.
This is before the invent of fucking Viagra or Cialis. Any of those things. I mean, it was natural aphrodisiac.
Yeah.
It was fucking oysters on the fucking half shell. We're going to town. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it must be because of the fertilizer. His dad was a fertilizer farmer. There had to be something in that cow shit that just... I mean,
I would say that, no wonder the bitch ended up schizophrenic. He fucked the shit right out of her. he fucked another person right out of her.
Well, yeah, he did, because...
Old Daddy Longballs.
Albert had 3 siblings.
Yeah.
So, and Albert was the youngest of the 3. There was Walter, Annie, and Edwin, and Albert. And Albert was the youngest of those 3.
His dad the sledgehammer. He said he fucking drank like a fish, but he fucked like a rabbit. I don't know. Yeah, that was just the talk of the town, I guess.
He was the werewolf of Wisteria. That's what he was. Yeah, he was the werewolf of Wisteria, baby.
When the full fucking moon came out, bro.
Yeah. He said, you want to see some boogeyman? I'll show you some boogeyman, bitch. I'll show you werewolf of Wisteria, baby.
You crazy bitch.
I'll bend you over and take it. Yeah. You've never had no dick like 75-year-old dick, ho.
I mean, very few have.
Shit.
Very few have, dude.
I'll show you how we did it in the Revolutionary War. I knew George Washington personally.
If I'm still fucking at 75, it's because I must have won the lottery or something.
I mean, because you got to figure, this was 1870.
Because, I mean, I'm already uglier than fuck.
Well, we both are, but right. I somehow landed a chick. I mean,
yeah, but think about...
There's girls out there.
But think about 35 years from now. How fucking disgusting we're going to be. Probably still doing this.
Probably, yes. Yeah, maybe by then it'll be popular enough to make money off of.
That's you would hope after 30 fucking years.
You would hope.
Something.
We still only got 50 people listening. That's it. It's just a diehard 50. That's it.
At that point, we should get an award for all-time worst podcast. The podcast that hangs on way too long.
Hey, you know what? There are worse. There are some that get no listens ever. They drop off very quickly. But the problem is there's new podcasts every week. We're competing with thousands, and we're competing with celebrities. So,
true.
But as I said, if you guys would spread the word to all your friends and tell them you love the Perfectly Screwed podcast, because I see your numbers, I know you're out there, we would really appreciate it. Side note, we would love for you to tell everybody to watch us. Or listen, yeah, because, well, you can watch us too. You can get on YouTube, but it's not like this. It's not about true crime, paranormal, and shit. It's all comedy on the YouTube and the TikToks there. But I've been actually kind of slacking on the YouTubes. I haven't been making any new ones recently.
You've been busy, man.
I did get an email about that. That they need some more Arrow in their life, and when is my next music video coming out? And I said very, very soon. I've recorded the songs, guys. I promise you. I just didn't have time to make the videos, which I apologize for because I'm an asshole. Okay, back to Mr. Albert Fish. Now I digress.
Right, yeah.
Well, we haven't used that in a while.
Right.
That used to be a normal saying in the
Staple.
podcast. Yes.
We have a habit of getting off on tangents.
Yeah, a little bit.
Like right now.
Yeah, a little bit.
Nobody has any clue what we're talking about.
Yeah, not at all. Well, they do if they
Including me.
Well, I mean, we're lost ourselves, ladies and gentlemen. It's probably because Brian has been drinking, you see, and when Brian drinks, his mind just starts to wander through a field of daisies.
Right. Right, exactly.
Yes, back to Fish now. Where was I? Oh, yes, his dad was 75 begging his young mom. Here we are. Yeah, so he had 3 siblings, Walter, Annie, and Edwin. And now Fish's family had a huge history of mental illness.
Yeah.
Okay? His
Both sides.
both sides, yes. His father's uncle was diagnosed with mania and depression, so he was bipolar. His oldest brother was confined to a state mental hospital with insanity because, again, 1870. They didn't have the diagnoses. Hey, that was a good word. I actually got it right, too.
I like that.
Yeah. They didn't have the diagnoses to tell you what mental illness was. If you were just, barking at the moon and running around stripping your clothes off, they just said, you're crazy. Throw them in a home, something.
Right.
You got to get them out of society.
Side note, they still don't.
Well,
They just made up words and drugs now.
well, yeah.
But yeah.
But, for the most part, you know what a schizophrenic is. You know what bipolar is if I say it. Back then, if you were bipolar, they just said, well, it's crazy. I don't know what to tell you. He's just crazy.
It's an absolutely good point, dude,
Yeah.
because these hospitals were, they literally...
Oh, they were
They
hellholes.
literally are the scenes of horror stories.
Yeah, they were hellholes.
And horror movies.
Yeah, in 1870s, going to a mental hospital, you would be better off being beaten and left for dead in the street.
Absolutely.
They tortured people in there.
Yes.
Yes, and doctors had free reign to do whatever the fuck they wanted. Lobotomies started around 1870.
Yeah.
That was the thing.
That's crazy shit.
You were crazy? We take a part of your brain, you're not crazy anymore. Well, no shit. You're also fucking catatonic.
Dude,
but,
the whole lobotomy thing, dude, it literally makes me fucking squeamish.
oh, yeah.
Like, the
Yeah.
thought of something going up my nose, that makes me squeamish.
Well, they usually did
Anyway.
it. They did it through the eye socket, through your tear duct. They would drive a metal spike. Anybody doesn't know what a lobotomy is? It's a metal spike either through your nose or through your eye socket into your tear duct and up into the frontal lobe of your brain, where they scrambled the frontal lobe, making you
They
basically
literally start scraping it.
Yeah. They ripped parts of it out to make you catatonic.
Because that
It made you docile.
absolutely sounds
Because-
that has to be a good idea.
Yeah. I don't know what doctor said.
How
You
the-
know what?
This is going to work. Guys, this
Yeah.
will work right here.
This will work. Well, like passing electricity through your brain until your brain was so fried you didn't know who you were. That was another standard practice.
Wow.
Put him in ice cold baths. That was standard practice. But let's get back to this. So his sister Annie was also diagnosed insane with a mental affliction and put in a mental hospital. So now he's got his father's uncle who's bipolar. His sister and brother are both insane. They don't know what's wrong with them, but they're not right. So that's all they know.
Right.
3 other relatives on his mother's side were diagnosed with insanity and mental illnesses. And his mother had oral and visual hallucinations, which is auditory and visual, which means she heard and seed things. She seed things because we're 12.
She seen them.
Yeah, I seed them. Yeah. If you listen to the podcast when I'm drinking, just putting it out there. Oh, yes.
Albert's dad's the one that deposited his seed.
Yeah, seed.
She didn't seed anything.
No, she didn't seed anything. But if you listen to the podcast while I'm drinking, and we forgot to mention the game, there's a drinking game here.
Yeah, because the fucking first rendition we did today, you literally messed up the first word you said.
True.
Which was a perfect segue into the drinking game. But we will never know because
Yeah, it fucked up.
somebody was fucking too lazy to delete fucking
Yeah.
episodes and
20 hours of episodes that we
create
had.
the storage needed to do a fucking podcast.
Well, I hope that was the problem. If that wasn't the problem, we got a bigger problem. But anyways, back to the point.
Yeah, we're going to find out here in a couple minutes.
Yeah, we'll know. But the drinking game is, if I fuck up a word, say the word wrong, do anything that stumbles over the word. You are required by law to take a shot. Okay, I was participating with that, but I have right now ran out of liquor. But here in a moment, we're going to pause the podcast. You won't know out there in Podcastville because you won't hear the pause. But I'm going to go refill my glass because I feel it unfair to be fucking up words and not drinking with you people.
And
because I love you so much.
They just passed that bill. It is actually against the law.
Yeah, to not drink with the podcast. Yeah. Anyways, where was I? Yes. Okay, so his mother saw and heard things that weren't there. So his mother was a schizophrenic. His sister's insane. His brother's insane. His 3 relatives on his mother's side are completely insane. And his father's brother was bipolar. So this guy basically had no chance. None.
And his father's
biology alone.
His father's old enough to be his great-grandfather.
Right. So at age 5, in, when was it? 1875, his father died. His father, as we said, was a fertilizer manufacturer, and he suffered a fatal heart attack in 1875. Albert was only 5 years old. So Fisher's mother, because at that time women really didn't work, they just stayed at home, you know, and on top of that, she was clearly schizophrenic and talking to people that didn't exist. So both of those kind of made it really hard for her to keep gainful employment. You know what I'm saying? So she had to take all of her kids and put them in an orphanage. Because back then, if you didn't want your kids or you couldn't support them, they didn't, you know, take them away through DCS or anything like that. You just took them to the orphanage. The local orphanage, you drop them off, said, hey, here's my kids, I can't take care of them. And you can come pick them up whenever you wanted, but the orphanage would take them. It was like a home for unwanted kids. So they drop them off there and, you know, the nuns did what they did. So
this was a better practice than abortion, let's say. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, I guess. Well, abortion.
You don't want your kids? Fucking drop them off.
Well, abortion was illegal in 1870s. So,
right.
Yeah, you couldn't abort them.
They had to have some place to take these kids.
Right. So she put him into the St. John's Orphanage in Washington, and very quickly his sister and his older brother were committed. So they weren't at the orphanage very long. They said, we can't deal with these crazy fucks. They put him in the state home. Yeah. So only Albert and his younger brother were there.
Wow.
And orphanages back then, as we spoke of previously, but nobody knows, were horrible places. Almost as bad as the mental homes. Prison would have been a better option.
It basically was a mental home for children.
Yeah, and prison would have been a better option, actually. So it was ran by nuns.
It very well could be, yeah.
Yeah, it was ran by nuns who believed that if we beat kids enough, they'll act right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Albert already had problems. So Albert sustained a lot of physical abuse at the orphanage. They paddled him frequently, beat him with rods, beat him with sticks. And at first, he hated this. He was also...
He was raped.
Raped, yeah. He was raped by the older boys at the orphanage, anally. They would also abuse him physically. But at first, Albert hated all of this, and then it started to turn old young Albert on. He said he remembered at age 6 getting his first erection when a nun was paddling him.
Ooh.
So he was getting hard, and they were beating him harder, and it was just getting him off, baby. He just loved it. Hit me again, sister.
I know exactly how he feels.
Hit me again, sister. Well, there's guys today that still like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not an actual nun. It's more role-playing.
Yeah, but...
You know.
Yeah, come on, Sister Francis.
I've been known to get rather hard after a good spanking.
Yes, if anybody's counting, Jason would like to take applications right now for you dressing as a nun and spanking the shit out of his ass. No problem.
We can make it a competition who has the best paddle. You know, who comes up with the best paddle. But
yeah.
Everybody take a whack.
So if anybody would like to dress as a slutty nun and spank Jason's bare bottom until he's erect, please get a hold of us on Facebook. We will be more than happy to arrange that
100%.
for you. I will film it. We will put it on YouTube, and we'll just...
That'd be hilarious.
We'll have to make it explicit content.
Absolutely hilarious.
Okay. Going on.
Anyway.
So, in 1880, Fish's mother secured a government job, and I'm guessing she got her crazy hallucinations a little under control. I don't know. But she removed Fish and his older brother from the orphanage, the one that wasn't institutionalized. So she took those two back. And then in 1882, at age 12, and this is where we were when it fucked up. Actually, we're about at the same point. Fish started a relationship with a telegraph boy.
Mm.
Now, Fish was introduced by this boy into drinking urine and eating feces. And this is where we were when Jason was talking about how he liked to taste feces and smear it on his face. Fish was quoted as saying that he put feces in his mouth and on his face from this young boy, and it would make him erect.
It would,
yeah. He enjoyed putting the boy's feces on his face and consuming it and swooshing it around in his mouth so his dick would get hard. And then drinking his and the boy's urine. Yeah. Before anally inserting himself repeatedly into this guy.
Mouthwash has come a long way.
Jesus.
You know what I'm saying? It really has. I mean, Scope ain't the best, but it don't taste like shit.
Imagine eating a hot, fresh turd out of a dude's asshole and it just getting you so rock hard you couldn't. Whoa. Wow. Okay, so.
I mean, wow.
Also around this time, Fish began visiting public baths. Because at the time they had public baths where young men...
Oh, yeah, bathhouses?
Yeah, bathhouses where they would go and,
And fuck each other.
Well, back then they would just soak in the water or whatever. There wasn't gay bathhouses yet.
Right, well...
But...
Except when you had a dude walking around eating turds out of toilets.
Yeah.
Like a fucking Baby Ruth.
Oh, are you done there in the bathroom? Don't flush. Don't flush. I need that. You don't understand. I need the specimen in my mouth. In fact, don't even use the toilet. Just shit on me. Just shit on me right now.
Everybody shit in the trash can.
Fish is here.
Fish is coming. He's fucking hungry.
Everybody get ready. We're gonna all shit on Fish today.
He's hungry and horny. Save your shit.
So he began visiting
God damn it. That's so fucking gross, bro. I can't even wrap my mind around it.
Oh, and this is just the beginning.
Dude, if I have to clean up dog shit off the carpet.
Yeah. You're grossed out.
I'll dry heave.
Right.
I'm fucking dry heaving.
Right. And this guy was taking...
And I've got half a fucking roll of Bounty.
Right.
There's no way it's touching my hand.
Right.
And I still can't fucking...
And this dude is taking hot, fresh turds out of a young boy's ass and just smearing them while getting hard and just ready to get to it.
Like a fucking Snickers.
So he would go to these bathhouses and watch the other boys undress. He would spend the great portion of his weekend on these visits and continued to do it until they noticed him becoming erect while watching other men undress. And then they kicked him out of the bathhouse. So he's standing there completely nude, and all the other guys are nude, and he's the only one with the chub.
better get rid of this guy.
Yeah, he's hanging a full rod, and they're going, what the fuck's going on, dude? We gotta get this motherfucker out of here.
We could accept the fact that he was going around digging in the toilet after we were done. That was fine.
Right.
We ain't letting no fucking faggot with his hard ass dick, dude. Get him out.
So, at this time, he also started doing his other favorite activity.
Oh, I can't imagine. Was it jump rope?
No.
Hopscotch.
He would go to matrimonial agencies, which were marriage agencies at the time. If a woman couldn't find a husband, she would go to these matrimonial agencies, and they would set her up with a husband, like a dating service.
Match.com.
Yeah, like a Match.com in the 1800s. So it was like a dating service. So he would acquire these women's names from the matrimonial agencies and just from classified advertising. Okay, if they were advertising for a handyman or something like that, or anything like that. And then he would write these long, obscene letters. Obscene, like describing himself masturbating and eating shit. and drinking urine and how he wanted to lick their buttholes and stuff like this. He was way ahead of his time.
I was going to say, it sounds like a prelude to the Penthouse
Yeah,
Film.
yeah. So he's writing all these obscene letters, and he would just randomly send them to these women with fake names. He said it used to get him aroused thinking about how disgusted they were by the things he would write.
Man.
And
That's funny, though.
he's doing this at age 12, though.
Right.
Right. This
I
all
mean,
started at
it's
12 years old.
Well, he was getting butt fucked at 5.
Yeah.
So, sometimes you got to grow up pretty quick.
Yeah. So, in 1890, at age 20, Fish moved to New York City finally. And this is where he started committing more crimes. He started engaging in male prostitution to make money. And then he also began molesting and raping young boys, mostly 6 or younger. Yeah,
And
let
how
me
old
say
was
that
he?
again.
How old was he?
20.
Wow.
And he's raping 6-year-olds and younger. His youngest victim at the time that is known of was 1.5 years old.
1.5.
1.5 years old, and he raped the baby up the ass. Yes. So,
That's not quite as funny as the shit eating.
no. But Fish is a sick motherfucker. He was
Obviously,
twisted in so many ways. So in 1898, 8 years after he moved to New York, so now he's 28 years old, his mother got tired of him being single and arranged a marriage for him with a woman named Anne Mary Hoffman, who was 9 years younger than him. So she was 19, he was 28. They had 6 children altogether. So even though Fish preferred to rape young boys and preferred men, he obviously could get hard with women because he had 6 kids with this bitch.
Yeah, his family was fucking mental but fertile.
Yeah, fertile as hell. Yeah, he's blowing off loads, and obviously he had no problem getting her
definitely
pregnant.
in his genes. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because old Fish Senior was blowing off loads till the day he died, 80 fucking years old.
Funny enough, Albert Fish blew off a load when they fried his ass right through his pants.
He probably really did.
Yeah.
No, he probably really did.
So they had 6 children: Albert, Anna,
He's
Gertrude.
probably on the other side with his dick still hard.
Hey, all he had to do was say, "Jesus, forgive me." He's right up there with Bundy and the rest of them, just chilling.
They were going to let him in. Like,
Yeah,
he's
they're
stuck
gonna
at the
let him
pearly gates because his dick is so hard he can't fucking
He can't get
it through. They can't get fucking through, dude. Calm down, Fish. That's all you got to do. You can't do it. There's too much shit up there.
Don't worry, this is heaven. We got plenty of young boys for you to rape. Don't worry. We got 'em.
Right. We got the whole Catholic Church in here.
Yeah.
Bring them all.
Yeah. You'll get along well.
You're gonna fit right in.
Yeah, we're going to introduce you to the rest of the priests. We have a special part of heaven for you gotta be able. Don't worry.
That's
Woo, that's wrong.
Yeah, we're fucking trying lines here.
Yeah. So he had some children: Albert, Anna, Gertrude, Eugene, John, and Henry Fish.
Man, I like Gertrude. I like that name.
So in 1903,
Real old fashioned.
yeah.
What up, Gertie?
But in 1903, he was arrested for his first crime, grand larceny. He was convicted and incarcerated in Sing Sing prison.
What's larceny?
Stealing, like theft. He stole something
Okay.
from somebody.
I knew it was stealing, but I didn't know if larceny was like the stealing of something specific.
No, it's just
Gotcha.
You know. So now we're gonna kind of jump around a little bit, but yeah, he was arrested and he went to Sing Sing for a few years. So Fish later recounted an incident in which a male lover took him to a wax museum. Because while he's married, mind you, he's still fucking guys on the side that his wife doesn't know about. He's fucking tons of dudes.
It was an arranged fucking marriage. He did it first so his mom would shut one of her voices the fuck up.
Right, one of the many people
he's
talking
still
to her.
Gay as fuck.
Yeah.
Of course.
So he's still fucking dudes on the side.
You don't just go from eating dude shit to being straight, guys.
Right. No, not at all.
Not gonna happen. Not this lifetime.
So he had a male lover take him to a wax museum. He said he saw
I love where this is going.
He saw a bisection of a human penis, and that is when he first became obsessed with sexual mutilation.
Oh wow!
Yeah, now it gets worse.
Oh,
It's
wow.
gonna. Hey, I'm warning you guys.
Now
If you have a weak,
dissecting dick.
if you have a weak stomach, now's the time to turn off the cast because if you
Get
thought
back.
eating shit was bad,
Oh no!
it is going to go so much worse
Oh, no.
around now. So, around 1910, Fish was working in Delaware, and he met a 19-year-old man named Thomas Keaton. Now, Thomas Keaton was mentally handicapped. He was a very slow guy. He was, by all accounts, very simple. Had the IQ, they said, of a 4 to 5-year-old.
Right in Fish's age range.
Right. So he took Keaton to where he was staying, and he began a sadomasochistic relationship. He tied Keaton to a bed on their first meeting, spanked him repeatedly with a paddle with nail studs in it. He then proceeded to gag him, choke him, and rape him violently up his anal cavity until he was bleeding all over Fish's dick. He then proceeded to make this mentally handicapped man lick the feces off of his erect penis. Okay.
Hello.
Is everybody on the same page here?
Yeah, Fish's dick has got shit and blood all over it. And fucking Lenny from Of Mice and Men is down there licking it the fuck off. That's exactly what we got going on, man. You've painted the picture. We appreciate it.
It is unclear whether Fish forced Keaton to do these things or whether he did them himself since he was intellectually disabled. So, after 10 days of him keeping him hostage in this place and doing this for 10 days to this handicapped man, Fish transported him to a old farmhouse. He tied him up against a board on a cross like Jesus, and he proceeded to torture him in various ways. He would stick different instruments up his anal cavity. He would hit him repeatedly in the scrotum. He would bite and pinch his nipples. Then he would rape him. He also drank the man's urine and ate his feces.
Well, you know how he loves that. Let's give. I'm gonna give him a little bit of the benefit here, though. You know what I'm saying? Because you have to have something to wash feces down to. You can't just eat shit and not have something to fucking drink.
So, after the 2 weeks of tormenting this poor mentally handicapped guy, so it's 10 days in the hotel room or wherever, raping him repeatedly. And then 2 weeks, 14 days of him tormenting him, you know, just randomly going in there and torturing the shit out of this guy. He decided that he was going to tie him upside down by his ankles, and he proceeded to cut off half of his penis.
Like the wax museum.
Like the wax museum, right. Fish said, "I shall never forget his screams and the look he gave me as I bisected his penis. And I will never forget how erect and how hard it made me." Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, boy.
Dude, this isn't...
And at the same time now, you got to remember, at this point in time, Fish still had a wife at home and kids, 6 of them. So he's over here in the nighttime after work, torturing and raping this mentally handicapped fellow, and then going home and having dinner with his wife and kids like it ain't normal everyday shit, dog.
That's crazy, man.
I can just imagine him walking in the front room. "Honey, why does your breath smell like shit?"
Seriously. I don't know. I don't know because I washed it down with urine.
Shit. God help me. He originally intended to kill Keaton, he said, cut up his body and take it home for his family to eat. Yeah. This, if he doesn't win Father of the Year, I don't know who could. I mean, he deserves it. He was bringing fresh meat home to the family. That's all I'm going to say.
That's right. You got a roof over your head and food on the table. Shut the fuck up.
But he feared that the hot weather would draw attention to him. Instead, Fish poured peroxide and alcohol over the open wound and wrapped it in a Vaseline-covered handkerchief, cut him down, left him a $10 bill, kissed Keaton goodbye, and said it's been fun, and left.
Damn. $10?
$10.
Fuck yeah, worth it.
Yeah, no penis, but there's $10.
Dude, I mean, it's like, what did this fucking Keaton dude do to deserve this, you know?
Nothing. But so then he said, I took the first train I could get back home. I never heard of him again or what became of him, and I could have cared less and never tried to find out. What? You sick fuck. I'm just saying.
This dude's sick, bro.
Yeah, he's twisted.
This is the sickest motherfucker I've ever heard of in my life.
So this was 1910. So 7 years later, Fish's wife finally got tired of his shit, and she left
He makes
him.
Donald look like Mike Brady.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, this guy's sick as shit, dude. And we haven't even got to the shit he did after his wife left. So in 1917, his wife finally got sick of his shit and left him for a guy named John Straub, a handyman who worked for the Fish family. She bounced out and left all her kids, too, under the care of this crazy psycho fuck. Yeah.
No.
So he raised his children as a single parent. After his arrest for larceny again, so he was caught stealing again, Fish told a newspaper that when his wife left him, she took all his possessions that he owned and he had to steal to provide for his kids. About this time, Fish also admits that he started having auditory hallucinations where he would hear things. He said he would hear God and John the Baptist talking to him.
Oh, of course.
So his kids related later in life that they saw him many times wrap himself in a carpet and walk around saying he was a disciple of John the Apostle and following the instructions of John. Yeah, baby.
I mean, you gotta have some kind of excuse.
Yeah, I mean, well, with his mother like she was, I mean, it was bound to happen.
Right.
I mean, you know, what choice did he really have at this point?
Plus, dude, you gotta have a fucking, when you're not getting the right nutrition and all you have is a steady diet of fucking shit. You know what I'm saying? You're not gonna think clear.
Right, yeah. Well, Fish also said during this time period, since he had to raise the kids and his wife had left and he was a single parent, he tried to ignore his impulses. But they would build up. So to kind of relieve the tension, he took a large wooden paddle that he fashioned, put framing nails through it, and began beating himself with the paddle to get himself erect. He would also stick large 9-inch sewing needles and embed them into his groin and abdomen. Yeah, he was hammering sewing needles into his groin and abdomen to get himself off.
What the fuck?
After his arrest, x-rays revealed that Fish had, at the time of his arrest, at least 29 to 30 needles lodged deep inside his pelvic region.
Dude, this dude's not human.
He would also beat himself with a nail-studded paddle on his own ass and on his back and face.
You know what I'm saying? This doesn't sound human to me.
He would also ask his children and his children's friends to spank his bare bottom with the nail-studded paddle while getting erect and masturbating.
I would have fucking beat the shit out of him. Fuck it.
Then
You want me to do what, Albert? Get on over here, boy.
sounds like perfect child rearing to me.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
nothing wrong with that. I mean, who hasn't asked their young children to just beat them with nail-studded paddles while they jerk off? I mean, that just sounds like normal everyday practice.
I don't know what you guys did for fun on the weekends.
I mean, I like to beat myself with nail-studded paddles.
God damn right.
So
I like to jerk off.
when that didn't do it for him, he would insert wool balls doused with lighter fluid into his anus and set it on fire while he masturbated because the pain turned him on. Yeah. He's
It's not human.
sticking fireballs up his ass, lighting them on fire to burn his asshole in extreme pain, and that's the only way he's getting off. You think at a certain point this motherfucker would go, you know what?
That's crazy.
I am out of my goddamn mind.
Well, and you can see why fucking the gays started using gerbils and hamsters. I mean, a lot easier than setting your shit on fire.
Now, he
God damn.
never physically attacked or sexually abused his children. But he did encourage them and their friends to beat him with the nail-studded paddle on his ass, to abuse him, and call him names while he masturbated. Okay.
Some fucking like, there's some kind of fucking trigger got switched, or you know what I mean? Something got switched in his brain in that orphanage when he was 6.
Yeah, something. Well, on top of being completely insane, I mean, you know, he was insane from birth because his whole family had mental illness from way back when
Bro,
till yeah.
I mean, he wasn't. These needles are fucking lodged inside
Yeah.
him.
Yeah. 29 to 30 of
This
them.
This isn't normal pain. Like, I've heard pain. People get
Yeah, no, this is nuts.
pleasure from pain. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
this is crazy.
And it's interesting if you think about like orgasm. Is it pleasure or is it pain? You know, because if you looked at somebody's face, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. But this guy
Jesus.
has. I've never heard of such a thing.
So around 1919, his crimes started to escalate again. He tried to hold off. So for 2 years he was a good boy because you know the nail-studded paddle was working, the lighting his anus on fire, shit like that. It was doing it.
Getting him through. Getting
Right.
him by.
But in 1919 he couldn't take it
Not
anymore,
gonna be enough.
and he met another intellectually disabled boy who was 6 in Georgetown. He always chose people who were either mentally disabled or African American as his victims because he explained later that these people would not be missed when he killed them.
Wow.
Yeah. And at the time period, they wouldn't have been. You know, nobody cared about either of those people at that time period. Fish also claimed that he would occasionally pay boys to get other children for him. So he stabbed this 6-year-old boy in Georgetown, stabbed him to death before masturbating on him.
Naturally.
Yeah. Fish also would torture, mutilate, and murder young children with what he called later on his implements of hell. He had a meat cleaver, a butcher knife, and a small handsaw, kind of like a hacksaw, that he would use to torture these poor children and mutilate their bodies before killing them. So, he basically goes on like this for a while, killing and raping, you know, black people or mentally handicapped kids. So, in July of 1924, Fish found 8-year-old Patrice Kill playing alone on her parents' farm on Staten Island, New York. He offered her money to come help him look for rhubarb. She was about ready to leave the farm when her mother chased Fish away. Fish left but returned later to the Kills barn where he tried to sleep but was discovered by the father and was forced to leave. 3 days later, Fish killed Francis McDonnell from Staten Island. He was 54 at the time and suffering from severe psychosis, visual and auditory hallucinations. He said that at the time God was commanding that he had to torture and sexually mutilate these children. So
yeah, because that's exactly what God would command. Makes a lot of sense there, Fish.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah. So then, right after this, in 24 also, he abducted a child named Cyril Quinn and held him for up to, they say, possibly a month that they know of. But he was molesting him the whole time. And then he started using the implements of hell on the child. Quinn and his friend were playing box ball on the sidewalk, when Fish asked if they had eaten lunch. When they said they had not, he invited them into his apartment for sandwiches. So that's when he began holding this dude hostage and molesting him. So then, later on, he got the other boy back over there. Okay, so now there's two boys again back over in the apartment. This is a month or so later. And at the time, they were wrestling on Fish's bed with Fish. Of course they were.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Pillow fights.
And they dislodged the mattress and saw a knife and the hacksaw and the meat cleaver underneath. At that point, they pushed Fish down, became frightened, and ran out of the apartment. Which, yeah, seems like a normal reaction. Yeah.
It is kind of scary.
So Fish was still married to his first wife. She left him, but she never got a divorce. So even though he was still married, in 1930 he married another woman named Estelle Wilcox. So now he committed bigamy in New York. But that only lasted a week and they divorced because she said that Fish would do extremely weird things sexually to her, like trying to put it in her anus and wanting her to beat him and things she wasn't into.
Yeah,
so it lasted
it
lasted a week and she was like, I'm fucking out of here, you weird fuck. No, we're done.
Right. Smart.
So in May of 1930, that same year, right after she divorced him, he was finally arrested for sending the obscene letters to women who answered an advertisement for a maid. Following that arrest, he got out, and then he got arrested again in 1931 for doing the exact same thing. So finally, they send him to Bellevue Mental Hospital for observation.
Yeah. Big one right there, Bellevue.
Yeah. Finally, after all of this.
Take a look at this guy.
Yeah, there's something wrong. He's sending obscene letters to women. I mean, eating shit, that's fine, but damn it, when you start sending obscene letters to random women, we can't have that kind of behavior.
That, Fish. You know what I'm saying? Here, have a glass of piss.
So...
Calm down.
So anyways, before this, on May 25th, 1928, and this was eventually what got him caught, Fish saw a classified advertisement in the Sunday edition of New York World that read, "Young man, 18, wishes position in country. Edward Budd." Fish was 58 years old at the time and visited the Budd family in Manhattan under the pretense of hiring Edward. He later confessed that he had planned to tie Edward up, to mutilate him, and leave him to bleed to death after molesting and raping him. Fish introduced himself as Frank Howard, a farmer from Farmingdale, New York, promised to hire Bud and his friend Willie, and he said he would send for them in a few days. Fish failed to show up, but he sent a telegram to the Budd family apologizing and set a later date. But when Fish returned, he met Edward's younger sister, 10-year-old Grace Budd. And immediately he said his amorous intentions fell towards Grace. He put Grace on his lap and bounced her up and down on his knee like she was riding a horsey.
Mm-hmm. Cute.
Yeah, probably while getting erect, I would assume, because Fish was a weirdo. But at the time, he made up a story about having to attend his niece's birthday party. He convinced the parents to let Grace accompany him to the party that evening. Fish then took Grace to an abandoned house he had previously picked out for the murder of her brother, Wisteria Cottage in New York. That's where you get Werewolf of Wisteria. Right. It was located in East Irving neighborhood of Irvington, New York. There, he murdered and ate the little girl. The police arrested 66-year-old Superintendent Charles Pope on September 5th, 1930 as a suspect in Grace's disappearance because his ex-wife accused him of it. He spent 108 days in jail between his arrest and trial. On December 22nd, 1930, he was found not guilty. So, now, this girl goes disappearing in 1928. He eats her in 1928. And then he goes to Bellevue.
So what you're saying is they're not going to find her?
Correct. Yeah, well, he goes to Bellevue for a couple years. And they arrest this other guy, but then he's found not guilty because he clearly didn't do it. So, in November 1934, Fish being who Fish was, he sent an anonymous letter. Now, this is 1928 was when she went missing. She's been missing for almost 10 years now, 1934. So he sent an anonymous letter to Grace's parents after getting out of Bellevue, which ultimately led the police to Fish. Miss Budd was illiterate and could not read the letter herself, so she had her son read it to her. This is the unaltered letter. Letter. Yeah, letter. There, take a shot, take a shot, take a shot. Anyways, it reads, "My dear Mrs. Budd, in 1894, a friend of mine shipped as a deckhand on the steamer Tacoma, Captain John Davis. They sailed from San Francisco to Hong Kong, China. On arriving there, he and two others went ashore and got drunk. When they returned, the boat was gone. At the time, there was a famine in China. Meat of any kind from $1 to $3 went from $1 to $3 a pound. So great was the suffering among the very poor that all children under 12 were then sold to butchers to be cut up and sold for food and to keep others from starving. A boy or girl under 14 was not safe in the streets of China. You could go into any shop, ask for steaks, chops, or stew meat. Part of the naked body of a boy or girl would be brought out, and just what you wanted cut from it. A boy or girl's behind, which is the sweetest part of the boy or girl, is sold as veal cutlets and brought the highest price." Oh my God. John said...
What the fuck?
John said that he then acquired a taste for human flesh. On his return to New York, he stole two boys, one 7 and one 11, took them to his home, stripped them naked, tied them in the closet, and then burned everything they had on. Several times every day and night, he spanked them, tortured them, to make their meat good and tender. First, he killed the 11-year-old boy because he had the fattest ass. And of course, the most meat on it.
Wow.
Every part of his body was cooked and eaten except head, bones, and guts. He was roasted in the oven. All of his ass. Boiled, broiled, fried, stewed. The little 7-year-old was next and went the same way. At that time, I was living at 409 East 100th Street, rear right side. He told me so often how good human flesh was that I made up my mind right then that I had to taste it. On Sunday, June the 3rd, 1928, I called on you at 406 West 15th Street, Brout, and I brought you pot cheese with strawberries. We had lunch. Grace sat in my lap and made me erect and kissed me. I made up my mind then and there that I had to eat her. On the pretense of taking her to a party, you said yes, she could go. I took her to an empty house in Westchester I had already picked out. When we got there, I told her to remain outside while she picked wildflowers. I went upstairs and stripped off all of my clothes so that I was naked. I knew if I had not taken them off, I would get her blood on them. When all was ready, I went to the window and called for her. Then I hid in a closet until she was in the room. When she saw me naked and erect, she began to cry and turned to run down the stairs. So I grabbed her, and she said she would tell her mama about the nasty things I was doing. So first I stripped her naked. How she did kick and bite and scratch me. So then I choked her to death and cut her into small pieces so I could take my meat to my room, cook it and eat it. How sweet and tender her little ass was, roasted in my oven. It took me 9 days to eat your daughter's entire body. I did not fuck her, though. I could have if I had wished. She died a virgin. Hey, you know what? For everybody out there in podcast land, I warned you. All right? I warned you 20 minutes ago what this was getting to. I warned you.
Well, at least a little peace of mind for the parents knowing she died a virgin.
Okay, the police investigated the letter. Too soon? God,
that's crazy, bro.
How fucked up are you to write that to a victim's family? You are just, besides being completely out of your mind, that is in severely poor taste. Everybody knows that you don't roast an ass.
Right.
You stew it up in a nice soup.
100%.
God.
Simmer, slow,
Jesus.
simmer.
Yes. Crock pot, motherfucker. Crock pot.
Well, that shit was fucking rough.
Jesus.
Tender at all.
No. So, police investigated the letter, and concerning Captain Davis and the famine in Hong Kong, he said that it was complete bullshit and was never verified at all.
Right.
Right, because it never happened. That was just
that's what's unbelievable about it.
That's just some officious crazy talking in his head. The guy that killed the kids probably didn't even exist. The letter concerning the murder of Grace, however, was found to be accurate in its description of the kidnapping and subsequent events. Although they could never actually confirm if he had eaten Grace.
Crazy.
So, the letter was delivered in an envelope that had a small hexagonal emblem with the letters NYPCBA representing New York Private Chauffeurs Benevolent Association. A janitor at the company told the police he had taken some of the stationery home but left it at his rooming house at 200 East 52nd Street when he moved out. The landlady of the rooming house said that Fish checked out that room a few days earlier. She said that Fish's son sent him money and he asked her to hold his next check for him. William F. King, the chief investigator of the case, waited outside the room until Fish returned. He agreed to go to headquarters for questioning, but then he pulled a razor blade on the police and tried to cut him. King disarmed Fish and took him to police headquarters. Fish made no attempt to deny the murder of Grace Budd, saying that he meant to go to the house to kill her brother Edward. Fish said it never even entered his head to rape the little girl. But he later claimed to the attorney that while kneeling on Grace's chest and strangling her, he did involuntarily ejaculate twice on her face. I warned you.
I didn't mean to.
I warned you. Okay? This information was used at trial to make the claim that the kidnapping was sexually motivated, thus avoiding any mention of the cannibalism. After he was arrested, they found out that he had killed a child named Francis McDonald. Was never returned home after playing catch. He was found in a wooded area near his home. He'd been sexually assaulted and strangled with his own suspenders. He had also suffered extensive lacerations to his leg and abdomen. Parts of him had been eaten. His left hamstring had been stripped almost entirely of flesh.
Oh my God.
Fish later stated that he intended to castrate the boy, but fled when he heard someone approaching the area. His friend said that he had been abducted by a man with a very gray mustache and a very gray exterior. He had come shuffling down the street, mumbling to himself and making queer mentions with his hands. The description got Fish the moniker the Gray Man. So then he also killed a kid named Billy Gaffney. They were playing in the apartment hallway in Brooklyn with Billy Benton and his brother were playing with Billy Gaffney in the apartment when the 12-year-old left the apartment. Both the younger boys disappeared. Benton was found later on the roof of the apartment. When asked what happened to Gaffney, Benton said the boogeyman took him. Gaffney's body was never ever recovered. So they think he ate Gaffney too. And that's how he got the moniker the boogeyman.
Oh, yeah, he ate the fuck out of him.
Fish claimed in the following letter to his attorney some of the things he did. He said, I brought the boys to Reeker Avenue dumps. There is a house that stands alone not far from where I took him. I took the Gaffney boy there, stripped him naked and tied his hands and feet and gagged him with a piece of dirty rag. I picked him up out of the dump. Then I burned his clothes, threw his shoes in the dump. Then I walked back, took the trolley, and walked home from there. Next day, about 2 p.m., I took my tools. A good heavy cat of nine tails. Homemade, short handle. Cut one of my belts in half, slit these halves in 6 strips, about 8 inches long. I whipped him bare from behind till the blood ran down his legs. I cut off his ears and nose and ate them. Slit his mouth from ear to ear, gouged out his eyes. He was dead by then. I stuck the knife in his belly and held my mouth to his body and drank his blood. I picked up 4 old potato sacks and gathered a pile of stones. Then I cut him up. I put his nose, ears, and a few slices that I had not eaten in the grip. Then I cut him through the middle of his body, just below his belly button. Then through his legs, about 2 inches below his behind. I put this in my grip with a lot of paper. I cut off the head, feet, arms, hands, and legs below the knee. This I put in sacks weighted with stones, tied the ends, and threw them into pools of slimy water.
This dude's memory is incredible.
Yeah. You will see along the road going to North Beach, water is 3 to 4 foot deep. They sank it once. I came home with my meat. I had the front of his body, and I liked it the best. His monkey and his peewees and his little fat behind to roast in my oven and eat. I made a stew out of his ears, nose, and pieces of his face and belly. I put onions, carrots, turnips, celery, salt, and pepper. It was so good. Then I split the cheeks of his behind open, cut off his monkey and his weenie, and washed them first. I put strips of bacon on each of his cheeks of his behind and put them in the oven. Then I picked 4 onions. When meat had roasted about a quarter hour, I poured about a pint of water over it for some gravy and put it in the onions. At frequent intervals, I basted his behind with wooden spoons so the meat would be nice and juicy. In about 2 hours, it was nice and brown, cooked through. I never ate any roast turkey that tasted half as good as his sweet, fat little ass.
Wow.
I ate every bit of his meat and his penis. His little monkey was as sweet as nuts. But his testicles I could not chew. I threw them in the toilet. Oh my God!
It's crazy.
Oh my God!
It's insane.
So he had a trial, and clearly they convicted this crazy bastard.
I would hope.
He said he was insane, but they found him to be sane and guilty. And the judge sentenced the defendant to death by electrocution. He arrived at prison in March of 1935 and was executed January 16, 1936 in the electric chair at Sing Sing Penitentiary.
Where's that at?
It's in New York. He entered the chamber at 11:06 p.m. and was pronounced dead 3 minutes later. He was buried in the Sing Sing prison cemetery. They said that Fish even helped the executioner position the electrodes on his body. His last words were reportedly, "I don't even know why I'm even here." Oh, God. It took 2 to 3 electric currents to kill Fish because the needles in his groin were short-circuiting the electric chair.
Yeah, there's like 30 of them.
Oh, my God. So, yeah, that's Albert Fish.
That's the fucking most fucked up shit, bro.
That is
I've
the most...
ever heard in my life.
I mean, you do not... That was for Halloween, everybody, for all of you out there, and there is probably not a more fucked up serial killer. I've been waiting on this one. I've been waiting. There's not a more fucked up serial killer I could come up with than Albert Fish. He was the most depraved psychopath you could imagine on the face of this planet. I mean, the things Hitler did does not even come close to what this crazy fuck did. And then to write a recipe to his attorney on how he stewed a boy's penis and buttocks.
I gotta tell you, he had me fucking salivating. It sounded really good.
God! Jesus. Well, I'm going to leave y'all with that because I'm sure I've traumatized our audience plenty today.
No shit.
But this has been episode 72, and I hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you next time.
Later.